It is kind of the battle cry. But I wanted to come to you post-election and give you a perspective on what's going on because I think there's a lot of hysteria out there, and I think people need to calm down. And that's going to be my main message. Just relax. All right. So we've got an election going on. It's still going on. First of all, it's not really unusual for an election to take overnight to be decided. So don't be freaking out just because it's taken overnight, right? I would say avoid the hysteria and avoid people who are pushing the hysteria. This is really important. Nothing has been stolen yet. And despite Trump's protestations last night, I stayed up. I was up until 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. Despite his protestations, he has not won the election. Right. So I think that was actually a bad move on Trump's part to declare himself the winner. I think it's reasonable to say that he had some great victories in the Senate. He had some great victories in the House. He had a great performance, but the votes aren't done yet. And I'm not talking about stolen votes. I'm not talking about fake votes. I'm just talking about the votes. We got to let this thing play out to some extent. And when I say let it play out, I don't mean that we shouldn't be engaged. If you can go down and you can do vote counting and be a watcher, especially Michigan's real necessary right now, you should do that. But let's avoid the hysteria. That's not our stock in trade, right? If you're a conservative, if you're a libertarian, you like the facts. The facts are the reality, and we should just pay attention to the facts. I would avoid all the conspiracy theory. And when I say avoid the hysteria, sometimes those two things go together. I don't see anything right now that lends itself to conspiracy theory. There was a weird dump of votes in Michigan. 138,000 votes showed up overnight, not a single Republican vote. That kind of lends itself a little bit, but let's just stick to the facts. All right. Now, I didn't think Fox should have called Arizona. I think they called it too early. It didn't make sense to me. I think it was a mistake. They're getting a lot of pushback on that. But again, I don't think that's a conspiracy. I was up when they did it. I was up later on. I watched their decision desk explain it. And I don't think their decision was irresponsible or unreasonable or a conspiracy. I still don't agree with it, by the way. But I don't think it's any kind of conspiracy by Fox or anybody else. I hear a lot of people screaming and yelling at Fox about it. The reality is they said that Trump, and Trump admitted this, by the way, it would take 61% of the outstanding vote for Trump to go ahead in Arizona. And a big chunk of that vote was mail-in, and Biden's been running way ahead in the mail-in. Right. So I don't think it was an unreasonable or illogical call on their part. I don't agree with it. I just want to be clear. I don't think they should have made that call. But again, I don't see any grave conspiracy there. And I think we should watch out. We should be very careful about claiming conspiracies. Now, I know people also got really angry and freaked out because in some places they stopped counting, right? So they stopped for the evening, but we knew in advance that they were going to stop counting. So they had set their timeline. Fulton County in Georgia set a timeline. I think they stopped at 10:30. Pennsylvania said they were going to stop counting. So they have the right to do this as states. Again, do I think that's good? I don't think it's good. I don't think they should have done it. I don't think the election should run this way. But I don't live in those states. I'm not in the state legislature in those states, and neither are most of you. It's up to the state legislature to set those procedures and to control their local election officials. But I don't think that's a conspiracy just because they stopped counting. So I just think if we see fraud, we call fraud. Other than that, let's stick to actual fact-based evidence. Again, if you're a conservative, if you're a libertarian, you like to anchor your arguments in facts, not in your feelings. So instead of saying, oh, I feel like something really bad is happening, I feel like there's fraud. When we see fraud, we're going to point it out. We're going to name it. We're going to nail it down. We're going to kill it. But other than that, let's stay away from the conspiracy theories. I think that's really important for us. Now, I know that, you're focused on the presidential election. Everybody who I know, most people I know, want to see Donald Trump win the presidency, right? And so if you're one of those people, I know things hang in the balance right now. If you want Biden to win the presidency, things hang in the balance right now. But let's look at what else happened in this election. Because, by the way, there were other races, in case you didn't notice, a lot of other races all across the country. One of, I think, the most interesting things to look at, and if you're a Republican, you'll love this, is that the Republicans appear to have held the Senate. There were a lot of projections that the Democrats were going to take the Senate. This was a blue wave election. The Democratic Party said it's a blue wave election. There was an article in Politico this morning that I think sums it up really bad. And they said, basically, this is a complete disaster for the Democratic Party. Why? Because the Democratic Party projected a blue wave. They said Democrats were going to win the presidency going away. It was going to be easy, right? And Biden was going to be well over 330. That has not happened, and it's not going to happen. They said they were going to win the Senate. If they win the Senate and the presidency, then it looks like they can put a bunch of judges in. That doesn't look like it happened, right? I mean, really unbelievably, it still looks like John James might win Michigan. That's an interesting race. We did lose, it looks like, the Mark Kelly McSally race. It looks like McSally lost, so the Republicans lost that seat. They picked up the Tuberville seat in Alabama, so that's net even. At this point, it looks like maybe the Dems pick up one, maybe two, but it looks like Republicans retain control of the Senate. Now, there's some runoffs in Georgia that could go out till January. Georgia has this weird system, right? You got to get over 50%. Right now, Purdue is over 50% over Ossoff, so he may take that seat. The other one's definitely going to a runoff. So we will have one Senate seat at least in Georgia, maybe two outstanding until January. And I think even in January, likely the Republicans win both of those seats if it goes to a runoff. So I think for Republicans, for conservatives, good news. That's the firewall, by the way. That prevents a Biden presidency from appointing radical justices, radical left-wing justices. It prevents them from trying to put people into the federal courts, which Donald Trump has done such a good job of. It also prevents radical legislation, right? The Democrats retain the House. If the Republicans retain the Senate, if Biden wins the presidency, radical legislation gets stuck in the House. So to me, that seems like, from my perspective, a pretty good result if you're a Republican, and a very frustrating result if you're a Democrat. So let's pay attention, keep our eye on the ball. Let's talk about the House. It was widely expected that Democrats would pick up a whole bunch of seats in the House. This is a good cycle for Democrats, by the way, just by the numbers. The number of seats having to be defended by Republicans in the House and in the Senate is at its all-time high out of the three senatorial cycles, right? And so you have a situation where Republicans had to defend a lot. Seems like they did a good job. Looks like they picked up 4 to 5 seats in the House of Representatives. That was not expected by anybody. One of my good friends, Yvette Harrell in New Mexico, picked up a congressional seat. She's a new representative-elect from New Mexico, so congratulations to Yvette. She had barely lost in the last cycle 2 years ago. It looked like maybe there was some fraud in there. She ran again. She ran hard. She actually ran, I think, for the last 2 years, and now she's the congresswoman-elect from New Mexico. So Republicans are going to have a bigger minority in the United States Senate. In the United States House of Representatives. They're going to have a stronger minority position. If you're a Republican, if you're conservative, even if you're a libertarian, that's probably a good thing to you. It looks like the Republicans held the United States Senate. If you're a Republican or a libertarian or a conservative, that's probably a good thing to you. If you're a Democrat, it's not a good result for Democrats in the House or the Senate in this election. The presidency still up for grabs, right? I mean, that's where we're at right now. It's not over till it's over. Trump has not lost. Biden has not won. Despite Trump's declaring victory, he hasn't won yet, but I think I would put it at least a 50-50 chance. So I'm going to run through a little bit of that, and forgive me if I look away because I'm going to look up at Decision Desk HQ. That's Decision Desk HQ, great place to look at the race. And if you want to play with the numbers, you can go to 270towin.com and you can play with the numbers yourself. So we're going to do a little bit of that. Again, I'd say it's 50-50 right now. Pennsylvania looks very strong for Trump right now. Last I saw, he was up over 700,000, pushing 800,000 votes. I think it's going to be very hard for them to find 800,000 votes, even in Philly, even with potential voter fraud. Michigan now, looks really close. I think it's suspect, those 138,000 votes coming in Michigan. If you're interested in volunteering, if you're in Michigan, they're going to need volunteers down at Cobo Hall to watch the counting of the votes. I know the James campaign is down there. The Republican Party is down there. True the Vote is down there. The Election Integrity Project. Lots of people working down there or up there in Michigan at Cobo Hall in Detroit, trying to get that fixed and make sure that works out. Wisconsin, leaning Dem right now, but still, I think a nail biter. I think that could go either way. Georgia, nail biter, but that one leans Trump to me still. When I look at the numbers and what's in so far and where stuff can come in from, I still think Georgia goes Trump. North Carolina is close. I still think that goes Trump. Again, 99%, 98% of the votes in. Charlotte's in. And so what that means to me was Charleston's in. With Charleston in, that's a very left leaning part of the state. That seems to be done. I think Trump pulls out North Carolina. Nevada is really interesting. Nevada's still up in the air. Talking to Robert Cahaly of Trafalgar, still the most accurate pollster in 2020, 2016, 2018, and 2020. He still thinks Nevada comes in for Trump. So I think Nevada's a possibility. Wisconsin's okay. Michigan's okay. I think good still probably. Pennsylvania's good. North Carolina, Georgia. That gives it to Trump if we do that. There's a lot of ways you can play with this. If I look at Decision Desk HQ, and again, you can look this up. It's let me give you the website. It's decisiondeskhq.com. And if you go there, you can play with the map or look at the map as they have it. I'm sorry. It's 270 to win. You can play with it. But if you look at Decision Desk HQ right now, they have Biden at 227 and Trump at 214. All right. So we're so close. I mean, you're talking 13 electoral votes separating them. Man, any state swings that. It's close, right? I've got my map made up. You can make your own map on if you go to 270towin.com. So I'm looking at my map right now. In my map, what I show, Minnesota goes to Biden. I think that's a done deal. That's an unfortunate loss. If you look at Wisconsin and Michigan, I have those both lean Republican right now. Pennsylvania, I have lean strongly Republican. And then we've got what I'm showing right now, actually, with what I've got is I've got Trump at 299 and Biden at 238. I give Nevada leaning to Trump, Georgia, North Carolina looking Trump, right? Obviously, Alaska, they haven't called Alaska yet, but Alaska is now Trump. I mean, that's going to go Trump. I put North Carolina in the Trump column. I put, obviously, Ohio went big for Trump last night. So really in question right now, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, and Nevada. And when I look at that, I mean, to me, it's kind of a toss-up. I think these things could go either way. It's a toss-up to me if you look at them. Again, go play with the map. I love this. Go to 270towin.com and play with the Electoral College map. You can mark things as toss-up, leans, likely, or safe. And my map shows currently 299 for Trump. I think it comes out 299 for Trump, Biden 238. That would be my call right now. So maybe I'm overly optimistic. I don't know. Bottom line, I'm going to tell you this for sure. Absolutely, 100%, there's going to be litigation. And if there's litigation, it means it might not be decided for a while. It's likely going to go to the Supreme Court. Right? So that's consequential. I want you to think about this again. If you say that you're a conservative or you're a libertarian or you're an originalist, you're probably pretty happy with the makeup of the Supreme Court right now. I would say if you're any of those things, if you self-identify originalist, constitutionalist, conservative, Republican, you like the makeup of the Supreme Court. Now, if you're on the flip side and you're watching, you're Democrat, you're liberal, progressive, I know you're unhappy with the Supreme Court right now. So I would say if you're a conservative or Republican or libertarian, any of those things, originalist, right now is a time when you probably trust the Supreme Court to do what you would like or to do the right thing, I would say, because I think originalism is the right thing more than any time in modern American history. So if it's got to go to the Supreme Court, it's a pretty good Supreme Court right now, from my perspective anyway. So that's kind of where we're at. All right. Here's the last thing that I would say about all of this. And I think this is really important. It is for me anyway. This is how I'm going to stay sane through all of this, because I don't think this is decided today. I don't think it's decided Friday. I think this could go for a while, unless we see some really surprising big flips in the states. I think both candidates likely going to claim victory. I think it's going to go to litigation. Here's what I know for sure for me. And this is where I come from. This is how I'm not going to be hysterical. This is why I'm not fearful for our country. I'm not buying into the conspiracy theories, because I believe God is sovereign. Seriously. Like, I don't just say that I believe that. I actually believe that here in my head and here in my heart. If you believe that, then you know it's in his hands. It's not in your hands. It's not in my hands. It's not in the court's hands. It's in his hands. You know, he knows the plan. You know, I don't. And you don't. We don't. We don't even know what victory looks like. Like sometimes when we're in the pit of despair, when things are at their worst, that's an important part of God's plan and it's actually a victory. But we don't know that. We can't know that. But he can know that and he does know that. So knowing that God's sovereign, it's not up to us. It's not even up to the courts. God has a plan. Knowing all of that, what's our job? My job, and I think it's our job, if you consider yourself an activist, a patriot, if you're in the fight for the country, whatever side of the political divide you're on, your job, if you believe what I believe, what I just said, then your job is to fight and to keep fighting. That's your job, no matter what. What I will tell you, my perspective, I have no time, no tolerance, no patience for whining. No time, no tolerance, no patience for weeping and gnashing of teeth. No time, no tolerance for fear, for uncertainty. From my perspective, there's a war on for the country, and my opponents aren't taking a break, and I don't intend to take a break. It's the day after the election. I was up until 2:33 in the morning. I was at it again about 5:30, 6 o'clock this morning, and I'm not taking a break. This election still hangs in the balance, so I'll be in the fight for what I believe. I would say whatever you believe, whatever side of the aisle you're on, you should be in the fight. It's not time for Monday morning quarterbacking. It's time to be in the fight. So if you believe that you have a role to play, and I can tell you, if you don't believe that, you're wrong. If you believe you have a role to play, then you be in the fight. If you live in one of these states where it's close, check with the state party. See if election monitors are needed, people who are actually going and watching the vote count be done. I know if you're in Michigan, they need them. So go down there, go to Cobo Hall in Detroit, Michigan, and watch them count the vote and make sure that you play a role. You have a role to play in this fight. But amidst all of this, be calm, be cool, don't be hysterical, don't give in to conspiracy theories. Look for the facts. If you don't have facts, don't just go with your feelings. If you don't have facts, then you don't have a handle on reality. So let's keep our heads in the game, our heads on reality, our eyes on the ball. And remember, it's not over till it's over. And even then, God has a plan. So with that, I'm going to close out this special edition battle cry. I may come back to you later today, maybe tomorrow. We'll be talking a lot more than usual. But thanks for being here. And